I'm the second of 7 kids. I have an older brother, 2 younger sisters, and 3 younger brothers. And one of the great things about having a big family like that was there's always someone to play with, but there's always also someone to fight with at all points during the day. Yeah, my mom homeschooled every single one of us. I mean, my youngest brother, I think he just turned 12, and he's homeschooled right now, and he's reading at like a 9th grade level already. So one of the things that was incredible about homeschooling, in my opinion, was that we could go at whatever pace excuse me, I just had a burp there, sorry. But one of the things that was incredible about homeschooling was that my mom could tailor our education to each one of us. In fact, I graduated 3 years early so that my mom could teach my older brother and I together, and that made it easier on her. My younger sister, the reason that she learned how to read was because she really, really liked horses, and my mom would get her these books about horses so that at every reading level, she could learn more and more about horses. And that's something that the public school system can't do. Right. Even the private school system can't do that level of personalized education. My older brother and I, we played baseball together. We played rec baseball. We played in the little hometown where I'm from, Venus. We also played in the Burleson rec leagues for a while. And we played against people all over Johnson County, down Rio Vista. We played Arlington a few times. But that was really my social life. Outside of the home, it was baseball or it was going to church. I mean, my mom served in the church. She was a youth pastor for a long time, or children's pastor for a long time. And so I grew up playing baseball a few days a week, going to church 2 or 3 days a week. We would go on Sunday, and I would help my mom in the kids' church, helping out the kids. And I got to lead some lessons sometime, which, like, as a 12-year-old kid, I thought that was really cool. We would do youth group on Wednesdays, and then my family would always spend at least 1 day a week at the church doing some service project. Whether it was renovating one of the rooms, whether it was preparing for the next Sunday, whether it was going out to food banks and delivering food to folks.
So did the whole family participate in that?
Yeah, pretty much the whole family did.
Really cool.
My dad was a hard worker. Like, he worked a lot. And he used to do trucking before he got into cargo, package delivery and things like that. But so he wasn't always there because he had a job to do. Yeah. But it was always great when he'd come home, we'd throw the ball around. And he made the effort to be at as many of our baseball games as possible growing up. It was, I would say, any educational environment has its ups and downs. But looking back, I really appreciate how personable and personalized that educational experience was. Because the things that I was interested in learning about, science, for example, and I loved history. Like, we could focus on those things. In fact, in my family, my dad would get 2 to 3 weeks of vacation off every year, and we would use that to go to either a bunch of the different national parks around the country, or one summer I remember that we went up to Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia. We went to Independence Hall, and we went to Gettysburg. And at each of these spots, we learned about the history of what happened there while we were actually there. So we learned about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, who the signers of those were, before we got there. And once we got there, we did our tests and our stuff, like, while we were there in Independence Hall, right where they signed. Oh, wow. And that was so, so cool. I would say that was my favorite family trip. The one that we went up and we visited my grandparents in upstate New York. And along the way, we went to Washington, D.C. We saw the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. We saw the Lincoln Memorial. We saw the White House. We saw all of that. And we had learned about that along the way. And then we went to Gettysburg, and we had to memorize the Gettysburg Address, and basically got up there in front of park rangers and gave the Gettysburg addresses.
Do you still remember it?
Nope. 7 years ago, our fathers set forth on this something, a new nation.
You're doing better than I am.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was a lot longer than 7 years. But yeah, it would be impressive if I still knew off the top of my head. I've been a lot more concerned lately with the things that are impacting people when I go up to someone's door and say, hey, what's impacting your life right now? What are the things that matter most to you? At my core, and at the core of really anyone in my family, is a faith in God. And knowing that, God put us here for a purpose, and He's got a plan for our lives. And, when He puts something on your heart, you go out and you do it. And ultimately, it doesn't matter whether you have the money to achieve what you think God is calling you to do, whether you have the full skill set to achieve that, whether you have the resources or anything like that. God's going to make a way. When He called, Jonah to go to Nineveh, right? He didn't say, hey, here's all the things that you need, go do it, or you already have all this stuff, go do it. Even when Jonah ran the other way, fell off the ship, or was thrown off the ship into the sea and swallowed by a big fish or a whale, depending on your translation. Even then, when he started crying out to God, God was like, yeah, go do it. And then he's sitting there, I'm in the belly of a whale. How am I supposed to do this? I looked at that when, I was building my company. I was literally living in my car. I'm in my car and I'm thinking, God, I don't have the resources to do this. I've lived in my car for 2 years at that point, just trying to get my company off the ground. And the story of Jonah is just he was called even when he was in the belly of a whale. And God said, you go do this, I will make it happen. You do the things I tell you to do and trust me to do the rest. And I would say over the course of my life, that has never failed. Whether it was when I went to college and I didn't have the money to go to college and He provided the opportunity to work 3 jobs that all basically lined themselves up. So I was working at one job and I'd leave and I'd go to class and I'd get out of class and go to another job and I'd leave that job and go to another job on the weekends. All of those things basically fell into my lap right when God said, do this. And when I said, all right, I'm going to trust you. And so faith obviously plays an enormous role in my life. And I think that whether we're talking about my belief system, for example, that all life is precious and endowed by our Creator, and that we need to protect it, or whether it's, His commandment to serve other people. I believe that God has called us to be our brother's keeper, not the government. And therefore, we need to be equipping our individuals, our private citizens, with the ability to do that, whether as individuals or through the church. And we need to get the government out of their lives. That's not the role of the federal government. It should never be.
Right.
But ultimately, society lives and dies with its faith in the Lord. And if we don't have faith in the Lord, our society will crumble, and we'll continue to do that. I'm reminded of a verse from, I believe it's 2 Chronicles, maybe 2 Chronicles 4:17. Y'all can redub this, but I'll say 2 Chronicles 4:17. If my people who are called by my name will call upon me and repent, I will heal their land. I will hear their cry and I will heal their land. Our land needs a lot of healing right now. And so it's time for us to cry out to God and say, hey, we messed up. Our leadership messed up big, and we allowed them to do it. Help us out. And God will. After I started my company, I was running it for about a year, just putting all the pieces into place. I took every dollar that I had and I put it toward it. And so as we were building it up, COVID hits and gets worse and worse. My congressman was pushing vaccines and masks and things like that. There's pictures of him wearing masks outside, which is ridiculous. But as I'm building up this company, I'm seeing my bank account go this way, and I'm seeing that the only way that this is going to work is if I put everything that I have in. So I moved out of my apartment at the time and moved into my car. I put every spare dollar into that. I slept on the couch in the office more than a handful of times. I tilted the seat back and put shirts up in the windows more times than I can count. So it really came down to, is this something that you believe in? Is this something that matters? And there are hard days for any entrepreneur, anyone who's starting a business, big, small, whatever. There are hard days of, why am I doing this? But ultimately, if you're doing it for the right reason, if you're looking at it as I have to work hard on this so that I could serve people, and in my case, prevent folks from getting addicted to their pain medications through building this device that measures how much pain medication is in a patient's system, and then uses that information to automatically dose as that patient needs it, so that they don't go through the cycle of highs and lows that happen when you take a pill. And so through that, we were able to reduce the likelihood of someone getting addicted to their pain medications by up to 87%.
Oh, wow.
And stuff like that have caused me to keep going, even when things have gotten difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't have to think, what if I get a flat tire on my house? I had that thought of, what if I get a flat tire and I can't drive anywhere? One thing that a lot of people don't know about me is during that period, and even to this day, I Uber at night, and that paid my bills. And now it's a great.
You were driving Uber at night.
Yeah, I was driving for Uber at night to pay for my bills. So you have to pack up all the stuff and put it in a box in the back, or drop it off at the office or something like that, so you can go out and you can make some money to feed back into that company. During that period of time, the PPP loan program came out and stuff like that. And as a true conservative, I'm not accepting any money from the government. I'm not accepting these handouts so that my business can be built up. And I thought that me living in my car, still, paying taxes and whatnot, that I shouldn't be paying for anybody else who needed their business bailed out or just wanted the extra money and applied for it. I don't think that those of us who are true fiscal conservatives should have to be punished because people who are Republican, in many cases, like our current congressman, running a $60 million a year car business, I don't think he needs $1.4 million of my money. If he's such a good businessman, like he claims to be all the time, but then his business was in such bad shape that he had to take $1.4 million from us, the taxpayers, his own constituents, for his business, something doesn't add up there. Meanwhile, in that same period, I'm living in my car just so that we can build up this company that we know is going to do a lot more good in the world than all of the hardship that it took to get it there. And that's something I believed in and I still believe in.
How's your company doing now?
Right now, we're going through the FDA clearance process. I have gotten $0 out of the company. My money goes in, and it's an investment in the future. But we have a lot of pretty cool partnerships with different universities for our research and development. We've funded more research in the UT system than pretty much any other company.
Oh, wow.
And I started teaching as a professor at University of Texas at Tyler, which is where I got my master's.
Okay, gotcha.
And that helped me to connect students with research materials and resources and stuff like that. And so this last year, I believe that I, either working on my own or through my company, we funded 18 research projects that got published.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And for that, we used 0 tax dollars.
That's awesome. That's excellent.
You don't need massive budgets to conduct good research. Like one of the research projects that we did was the first published research on the East Palestine, Ohio train disaster.
Okay,
and I'd be happy to send that over to you. Uh, but why did this train derail? How does it derail? Things like that were questions in the minds of everybody in the media.
Right.
And there were different groups saying, okay, well, it's going to take $100,000 for us to study this. Look, we can study a lot of this for way less. And so at zero cost to the taxpayer,
Right.
Zero cost to the university, which is funded by taxpayers. And so I do view those as one and the same. That's your pocket and my pocket,
Yeah.
Going for this. Didn't cost you any more. As a fiscal conservative, I don't want to spend a single extra dollar because it's not my money to spend.
Right.
It is the taxpayers' money. It is us individually as citizens' money. And I'm sick and I'm tired of politicians in Austin and in Washington, D.C. treating it like it's their money and they can do whatever they want by just changing a few numbers on the spreadsheet and saying, oh, well, what if we bump things up, for the property taxes by 0.25%? Or federally, well, what if we borrow more money from investors who otherwise would have invested in small businesses, and we take that money that should be put to work working for us in our communities, and they take it so that it works for them in Washington, D.C. I'm sick and tired of that, and my entire life has been, how do I make sure that the money that is in that guy's pocket stays in that guy's pocket, and that woman's pocket stays in that woman's pocket, and in her purse stays in her purse, not me. Because, I think of myself as a reasonably smart person.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I'm 2,000 miles away, or if I'm 2 miles away, if I'm 30 minutes away, if I'm, right outside this room, the person who's still best equipped to manage your life is you.
Yeah.
It's not someone elected. It is not some bureaucrat who's not elected. Your money is yours. Your life is yours. Those decisions should be yours, not somebody in Washington, D.C. And I wish we had a whole lot more people in Washington, D.C. who acted like that.